Hi, I'm Kelly with citruscycles.ca. I'm here with my Riese Muller Packster 80. It's a Bosch-powered cargo e-bike. I've been riding it for a number of months now. I've got about over 1,300 kilometers on it. So I wanted to take a moment to give you my impressions, do a long-term review of this bike. You can find an in-depth video review, including a ride test, all of the detailed specs on our website at citruscycles.ca. There you'll also find current pricing, you'll find our contact information, so if you have questions, you want to come try it out, you can do that. You can also order online. So in this video, I'm just going to give you my impressions after having used this bike for a number of months, used it in a lot of different situations, but if you're looking for a detailed review, like I said, you will want to head over to our website at citruscycles.ca. So there's three things that really stand out for me. The first two are obvious. It's an incredibly versatile bike and very low maintenance. The third is a real surprise. It's incredibly fun. I've really enjoyed riding this bike. Perhaps it's because it's really comfortable. So we've got a suspension seat post on here. This is one of the few cargo bikes that actually has a suspension fork up front as well. We've got an adjustability here on the handlebar height. We've got these comfortable ergon grips. It's a fairly upright riding position with a nice low standover height. All of those things combine to make it really accessible. It's an easy bike to jump on and to ride. It's very comfortable. You're in an upright position. You can see around you. I often ride with this cover on the front, and that makes me very visible. You can really see me coming. So it gives me a lot of confidence when I'm riding in traffic. So this was this big surprise to me. I mean, it's been an incredibly versatile bike. I'll talk about that. I'll talk about how I've really had to do very little maintenance, which is fantastic. But I didn't expect to love riding it so much. And I think part of that is, yeah, that comfort. It's a very comfortable bike. Part of it is I don't know how to explain. I guess it's the length of the bike, although at first can be intimidating, and that's one of the things I seem to recall mentioning in my in-depth review was, you know, maybe you don't, this is the 80, this is the biggest Packster you can get. Riese Muller makes it in a 60 and a 40 configuration as well. The 40 is much smaller. It's more like a crossover cargo bike. It's really cool. I'm excited about that. But you can get the same size of box, but just a little bit shorter in the 60, or like I said, this is the 80. And I seem to recall saying, you know, maybe get the 60 if you don't need the space in the 80. I think I'm going to change my mind on that because I've really loved having that extra space. I've actually put it to really good use, and after a few rides, I really got used to not seeing my front wheel. So when you're up here riding, you know, you can't actually see the front wheel. You can kind of see, usually, I'll see if I can get the camera the right angle. Sometimes I can see the fender. Yep, so you can see the fender there wiggling a little bit. But it does at first take a little bit of getting used to because it's so long and you can't see the front wheel and just your brain goes, ah. One of the things I've noticed riding it at first was that I would tend to corner too sharp. And if you corner too sharp, it's going to make you a little unstable. And I think that's because you don't see the front wheel. So it took me a few rides to realize, you know what, I don't actually have to corner that sharp. The bike is, despite its length, fairly maneuverable. And I got used to its handling, and now having that extra 80 centimeters on the front here has been really useful. And so I don't know if it's that extra length that makes it so much fun to ride, the small 20-inch wheel up front and the 27.5-inch out back. Somehow it just becomes this really fun, enjoyable bike. Sometimes I didn't need it as a cargo bike. I would still take it for a ride because I enjoyed riding it. You can get it with the dual batteries, which I definitely recommend. That's another nice feature that I like having, knowing I've just got that extended range. I can ride as far as I want. I did add the rear rack here as well, and that was nice because you know, I'd often use this bike, and when I talk about the versatility, I'll talk about, you know, how I use this bike with bringing my daughter to school, to ballet practice and things like that, to swimming lessons. And so it was nice that I could drop her off at school, she could ride in the box, and then I could bring my pannier bag, you know, with my laptop and other stuff in it, and I could go to work after I dropped her off at school, and I didn't have to worry about, you know, her being with all the stuff in the box. I could put that on the rack. So it gives you a lot of versatility. So in terms of that surprise of it being fun, yeah, if you get a chance, come and try it out. At first it may take a little bit of getting used to, but once you're used to it, it's really been a very enjoyable bike. I talk in the in-depth video review of why you'd want a cargo bike. And I think my question now becomes, why wouldn't you want a cargo bike? Really, unless you are, doing some serious mountain biking, then this might be a bike to consider. Now, maybe you don't need the 80 centimeter box like I do. Maybe you want the 60 or the 40, but there's so much versatility. There's so much you can do with this bike, and it's really nice to have that. In fact, with these tires, I love the Supermoto X tire on the back there. We've got a nice, I think, what is that, Big Ben Plus on the front. I've gone on trails, the front suspension fork really helps smooth things out, the suspension seat post. So yeah, the only difficulty with trails is with this 80 centimeter version, it's quite long, and so it isn't quite as maneuverable if you've got really tight corners. If you need to turn around, it takes it's like a multi-point turn in order to turn this bike around. You can't just very easily, turn it around, and it's fairly heavy. So keep those things in mind, but you can do so much with it. So I often ride with this cover. I definitely recommend the cover if you are getting the box. It's coming really, really handy. What I like about the cover is, first, it keeps everything dry that's inside, but also it means that I can just throw things in here. So if I'm going to the grocery store, I don't have to bring a pannier bag. I don't have to, I'll maybe bring shopping bags or a cooler bag. I often have just always in here. My daughter likes sitting on it, so there's a tip for you. It's an insulated cooler bag, nice and soft. And, I get to the grocery store, I fill it up, and I just put it in the box, cover it up, and now I don't have to worry about anything flying out while I'm, riding down the hills or around corners or anything like that. It's going to stay in there. So it keeps things dry and also just keeps things in. So I can just throw stuff in there. And that's one of the great things about this versatility idea, is that once you get a cargo bike, you just start using it for everything. So, originally I was thinking, taking my kids to school and things like that, running them around, and certainly that was the bulk of my riding. But if I needed groceries or my wife needed something at the store, even if it was something small, like even if it could have just fit in the pannier bag on a regular bike, I would still take the cargo bike, partly because, well, you kind of learn that you never know when you're going to see a good deal on, I don't know, something big, toilet paper. And so then, you know what? You can just throw that in there. You can fit so much in the box. You don't have to worry about limiting yourself to what you're purchasing. But the other really cool thing that I liked about this bike is, for me here in Ladysmith at least, if I were going to the grocery store, I would just park right near the front door. I didn't bother going to the bike rack. And I would put this frame lock on here. So with the frame lock, it's the same key you use for the battery. This metal bar, I don't know if I can show you with one hand or not. This metal bar comes through, there we go, and locks the rear wheel from turning. Now this bike is probably over 80 pounds, and it's big, like really big. So in my mind, as long as somebody can't ride off with it, if I'm going into the grocery store, it's fine. I don't think somebody's going to come with their big pickup truck and a couple of people and pick it up and, drive away with it. Now, if I were leaving it out all day, I'd probably take advantage of the fact that I can put a chain through here, use the same key, and chain it up to something. But what it did is, and I don't know if I'm lazy or what, but to me it's like, oh, I can ride my bike down to the grocery store, which I love riding my bike, and I don't have to worry about locking it up. I just put the frame lock on and walk away and go do my grocery shopping and come back. So I don't know if that speaks to you or not. That might seem kind of crazy. Maybe you don't mind locking your bike up. It's not a big deal, but it just makes it this bike that invites you to get on and ride it and do things with it. So, I used it a lot at the bike shop because we would, get bikes in and we needed to recycle the cardboard. So I cut the cardboard up to fit in the box here, ride over to the recycling, drop it off. That was just super convenient. I didn't have to drive. I could just ride my bike. And so there's a lot you can do with this. Pets, great way to transport a pet is to put your pet, a dog perhaps, in the box and go for a ride. Or if you, I see a lot of people that drive to the trail to walk their dogs. Well, I really prefer not to drive if I can avoid it. So, I can put my dog in here and drive to the trail in the bike and then go for a walk, and then the dog's getting exercise and I'm getting exercise too on the way there. So really versatile. I love the kickstand. It's a super heavy duty kickstand. The nice thing is that to release the kickstand, all I have to do is push the bike forward and it's going to come off. And to set the kickstand, again, all I have to do is put this down with my foot and move the bike backwards a little bit and it deploys. I don't at any point have to lift any of the weight of the bike up, which is nice. So I can actually put the kickstand down and release it with my kids in the box. And it's super stable, so I can put the kickstand down and my daughter can climb in and out and I don't have to worry about the bike falling over or anything like that. So it's you know, really stable. 1,300 kilometers, I've never tipped over on the bike, I've never wiped out, I've never had any moment where I felt unsafe on it. And that's a really nice thing to know when you've got a cargo bike and you've got kids with you. So versatile, yeah, there's so much you can do with it. This strapping here comes off, so the sides are removable, so if I did want to haul some lumber or something wider, I just open this up, sides come off. That isn't something I did because I just found the box fit everything perfectly, whether it was you know, stuff at the bike shop or grocery store or, you know, any number of different things that I've used it for. So really versatile, and I do love having that rear rack, as I mentioned, the integrated lock, just so much with it. The other thing that really stands out for me with this bike is the lack of maintenance requirement, and to me that's huge because you know, I've got a mountain bike, really nice mountain bike, D-Light Mountain, but it's got a chain cassette and derailleur, and so I have to force myself to maintain it. I have to make sure that if I'm riding in the rain, you know, I need to come back, I need to take care of the chain, I need to make sure that I keep it oiled and clean, otherwise it's going to rust, and you know, I have to make sure the derailleur doesn't get out of whack and things like that. With the Packster 80 New Vinci, and I highly recommend getting the New Vinci version of the bike, it comes with a Gates carbon belt. I've had to do nothing to this bike, zero maintenance, so this I love. It's raining, I need to get something from the store, I'm going to work, whatever, dropping the kids off at school. When I get home, I'm done. I just put it in the garage. I don't have to clean the belt. There's nothing you have to do with it. The New Vinci system requires no maintenance at all, so it's a really very low, if not zero maintenance bike. I love that fact that I can just keep it in the garage, jump on, ride, come back, and I'm done. I don't have to worry about maintaining it. I do, you know, really enjoy the New Vinci system here because it does mean you can shift while you're stopped. In a cargo bike, to me, that's huge because you're gonna, you know, you're probably gonna fill it up. If you've got kids, then you've got a lot of weight in there, and if you're struggling to get the right gear climbing up a hill, it's not going to be an enjoyable experience. It's going to be harder to shift with that heavy load, and you know, around here, a lot of our hills have variable grades. So to me, just being able to give this a little twist to adjust my cadence for climbing up the hill has been ideal. I really enjoy the New Vinci system. You will probably find with a cargo bike that you're riding in more of an urban environment, and that often requires stopping suddenly. And again, being able to shift while you're stopped because you didn't get a chance to downshift before you stopped is brilliant. It just, the other thing it does is it frees up your concentration, so you can focus on your kids or whatever your load is. You can focus on riding. You're not having to worry about shifting gears and being in the right gear. And anytime, you know, you can have more of your concentration on the road, the better. And in terms of, you know, safety and that sort of thing, you know, I really should point out the fact that the box is fantastic. I love having my daughter, for example, up front. Now she's 10 now. When I got the bike, she was 9. And, you know, we rode the Felt Brew Haul for quite a while, and she's old enough that I don't have to worry about her, you know, being on the back of the bike. If you've got, you know, young kids, then this is awesome because as you're riding here, you know, you can see what's going on. For my daughter and I, it just became a fun thing that we could engage in this conversation without having to yell. You know, we could see each other. It just, we really enjoyed riding with the bike and having her in the box like that. So I do love having a box cargo bike. It's easy just to throw stuff in, put the cover on. I don't have to secure my load. I don't have to find straps or that sort of thing. As well, from a safety perspective, it is nice having the suspension fork, not only to smooth out the ride, but also to improve the handling. So if you are on bumpy roads or things like that, you still have a lot of confidence. You're going to be able to control the bike, and that's important. You really need to be very confident when you've got kids on your bike, and that's really, you know, going to do that for you. So let's see, what else should I talked about, you know, the versatility. I've talked about how comfortable, how fun it is to ride, the maintenance aspect of it. I love the lock, good brakes, the rack, the suspension seat post. Oh, so I'm trying to think, okay, what would I change about the bike? Well, I often point out that I'd change pedals on the bike, but you know what? I really like these pedals. They're actually really great. They've got a little bit of some knobs here so that when you're riding in the rain, your feet don't slip. They're nice and wide as well, which is great. Um, let's see, anything I would change? So I've got the dual battery option. Most of my bikes, I bring the battery inside the house to charge it. The Packster, I had to leave the batteries on the bike to charge it in the garage because the second battery of the dual batteries goes under the box here. Oh, I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's a spot for it underneath the box. You'd have to crawl under with the key to unlock it. Now, the battery does come in a cool neoprene case to protect it under there, so I didn't run into problems with that. It's well protected. But if you want to take it on and off for charging, you know, that second battery is going to be a little bit difficult under there. So, you know, maybe it'd be nice for that second battery to be relocated somewhere to make it removable, but as long as you're in a position to be able to charge it while it's on the bike, there's a charging flap right here, then that really isn't an issue. In terms of other things that I would change or other problems, I can't think of anything. I've really loved riding the bike. It's incredibly versatile, a lot of fun, really no maintenance requirements at all. So other than that battery, and it's really, again, not an issue because you can charge the batteries on the bike, I can't think of anything else I'd change about it. So I've loved having this bike. If you have questions about it, you want to come try it, then just head over to our website at citruscycles.ca.